Hey everyone, it's great to see you. And today, I'd like to talk about Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which is I believe, 2002 release for PS4 and PS5. Reunion is a remaster of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII that came out for PSP in 2007. And this game was a 25th anniversary celebration of the Final Fantasy VII universe, and the PSP version came out in 2007, so somewhat serving as a 10-year anniversary. So a pretty interesting game. I have a little bit of experience with Crisis Core, and this game serves as overall kind of a prequel to Final Fantasy VII, actually taking place essentially right up to the start of Final Fantasy VII. And real quick, we'll look at the packaging. I quite like the cover art here, with Sephiroth, Cloud, and Zack on it, in that nice blue, and nothing particularly interesting on the back. And what you would expect with most modern physical titles, nothing particularly interesting on the inside either. Though I do quite often like, and I'm a fan of, this funny legal jargon. Like, of all the things that you want to include, you include just the things you are absolutely required to have, and you put them on the inside of the insert, and with a completely white blank on the rest of it. Okay, so, yes, sequel, or prequel, excuse me, to Final Fantasy VII. The game follows Zack Fair, who is a relatively new or newest member of Soldier, which is kind of this super soldier program developed by Shinra to create these superhuman, incredible fighters to, I guess, just dominate the world. But in this world, they're more so like little celebrities than they are soldiers, almost, with quite a bit of interaction in this game with their various fan clubs for all the soldiers. Not for me to rant particularly, but the game itself is about Zack's mission to find a missing soldier by the name of Genesis. And Genesis is an important person because he has a connection to something called Project G, which you'll learn about over the course of the game. And Project G was an experimental program that was designed to create high-ranking and high-level soldiers and give them the skills and talents that would basically create, gods, so to speak. And so Genesis has a connection to this project. Similarly, there's another character, Angeal, another soldier, and another soldier you might know about, who have connections to this program and project as well. And I won't dive too much into the details, but from a story lens, I think that while initially a lot of this information comes off as a bit confusing for me when I was first playing the game for the first time, with a broader perspective on the world of Final Fantasy VII, it becomes much more entertaining. And if you've played the original Final Fantasy VII, or you have played Rebirth, you will recognize some of the moments in this game told from, varying perspectives that kind of contain similar information on those situations. However, this is the most canon version, to my understanding, of the events as they play out, including those from the Last Order, the OVA, kind of covering the same detail once again. So the story in which this is telling is a detailed version of a retelling that's happened many times under Square in many different iterations. But I did quite enjoy the story, so to speak, and that was kind of the first thing I wanted to share. Another big part of it was there's a lot of good interpersonal relationship building that will come along throughout the game, such as that with Aerith and Zack. I knew a little bit about Aerith and Zack's relationship prior to the game. I had never played through the full PSP game, as I mentioned, so a lot of this was new to me. And I think that, a lot of the ways that the game wraps and kind of some of the interactions that are the send-off moments for Aerith and Zack are particularly tragic and do make for a very compelling, I guess character infrastructure to think about. Especially going into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where what we're beginning to see is that there's some chance that Zack is out there still, and Aerith in her interactions with Zack, or Aerith in her interactions with Cloud, or so on, are going to be very intriguing in that game for sure. So, from a story lens, following Zack, uncovering Project G, learning what happened to Genesis, interacting with Sephiroth on this great mission you go on together, and seeing the outcomes of that were all really entertaining. And so from the lens of the main story content, I had a lot of fun with this game, and I think it's worth playing just so you can kind of further invest yourself in the Final Fantasy VII IP if you are interested in doing so. It's certainly a game for that. But while the story is good, another core part of the gameplay experience is always the gameplay, right? And so, this is an action RPG, and it's going to play very similar to what you've experienced in, say, Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's a kind of a hub world around Shinra HQ and some adjoining areas where you can run around, you can talk with people, especially, the fan clubs, for all of the different soldiers. And they're so funny. It's like this, group of ladies, and they'll say, yeah, we love Genesis, or yeah, we love Sephiroth, or later you'll get a Zack fan club. And a lot of and you can go pick up side missions through this area as well. And a lot of the information that's being delivered to you is via like email. You have like a little PDA that will show up, and you'll have all these emails that you can read. I'll admit I tried to keep up on them, but I wasn't spending nearly the amount of time that I probably should have just reading through and digesting all that information. But otherwise, where a lot of the content will take place is through kind of more tailored dungeon crawler-esque levels, where you'll have a start and you'll have an end, of course. And the main missions will be this kind of sprawling dungeon crawl where you'll go through them from beginning to end. And then all the side content and a ton of missions. I think there's like hundreds of missions, probably. They'll take like 30 seconds, a minute, maybe a few minutes sometimes to complete. But there's hundreds of them. Will take place in segmented parts of these various main mission dungeons that you will travel throughout. And they can be, a lot of those objectives can be things like, hey, go and kill this monster, or take out all the enemies in this area, things of that nature. And so that's kind of the navigation and world design in a lot of ways. But from an action lens, it'll play like an ARPG, just like Remake in a lot of ways. So you'll play as Zack, you'll have materials you can equip and use in the course of battle. And this game has a very specific feature called DMW, which is Digital Mind Wave. And how this works is kind of similar to like a slot machine. And so what it is this is your connection with people throughout the game. So when you meet characters, sometimes you'll form a connection with them. And the stronger that connection becomes with them through going on missions together, or over the course of the main story, or completing side quests for them and things of that nature, will strengthen this bond. And so you get this slot machine, and there's, there's 3 digits or whatever. And based on those strengths that you have with these people, if you roll certain numbers and so on, it can provide you bonuses in the middle of the fight. So this could do things like give you unlimited MP for a period of time, so that you can continue to cast spells without a penalty. Or maybe it'll max out your limit break, so you can use a limit break move, or give you full health, or level ups. Or sometimes you'll get like a character who allows you to pull a lucky item from a hat, and it could be a strong weapon, or it could be a high potion or something. And so this was kind of cool. I would say that it does present some grind into the game, and a big part of that is from the lens of your battle outcomes can sometimes be determined by how lucky you're getting on these rolls. But it does, however, create a good amount of gameplay uncertainty at the same time. It makes it to where if you min-max or you try to in most RPGs like I do, your goal is going to be, okay, what combo or what set of moves can I pull off back to back? They're going to distribute the most damage the fastest and kill the enemies in the most effective way. Well, with DMW, you never know what kind of, perks you're going to get throughout the course of the fight. And sometimes for lengthy ones where you're fighting bosses or so on, this can really be, game breaking, or they can really be clinch items that, like, oh, I really needed that to happen and it just did. And so I really did enjoy that, because it does kind of create this fluidity to the strategy that you want to and are hoping to employ throughout the course of the game. And so the gameplay is pretty fun in that lens. The one thing I'll say is that the game does have quite a bit of missable content, because as you move from main story mission to main story mission, sometimes this will block off areas, especially if you're attempting to kind of be a completionist about it. I think each chapter has a missable trophy or achievement. And so when you're playing the game, if you're not paying very close attention to those things, you could easily find yourself in the position where going back and playing through 35 hours to pick up a trophy is on your radar if you want to kind of complete the game from a achievements lens. And so for that reason, that was kind of frustrating. And another big thing about the side content you'll unlock, if you play a game in the way I do, I want to complete all the side content, especially if it's missable, as I go along. And this includes doing all of the random soldier missions that I was telling you about. And the problem is that if you play these before you do the main content, then you'll be so overpowered during the main story that you're just going to crush everything in your way. Because the side content is not meant to be played in that nature. However, the game sets up this imperative where it's like, okay, if you don't, there's a chance that you're not going to be able to engage with this content. And unless you're using a guide or something of that nature, you're not exactly going to know when those times come. And so for that reason, I found the gameplay experience to be kind of unbalanced, because I was often so overpowered on things where I was supposed to be facing a challenge. And in areas where it should have been easy, like playing some of these side content missions, especially late game, could be so impossibly hard that I couldn't think of an avenue to navigate them, because otherwise I'd have to move forward in the main story and could cut off that content to begin with. And this also comes in the form of, challenging aspects of the game where you reach this side content and you have to be able to output damage at extreme levels. But the game does have caps on some of the damage you can do. I think the cap is 9.9K, 9999. But there's a certain accessory you can get through a series of missions and events, and that will allow you to boost that 100 times. And so then when I started to realize, okay, well, now these quests are impossible because I need this item, and then now I need this item to be equipped, so my strategy is a little narrowed on what I can do with my character. There were some restrictions there that I found tough to navigate for somebody if you just wanted to pick up and play the game. This game's going to require a lot of attention and focus and strategizing from its player to really get the most out of it. And that's fine. It's a really fun gameplay system. I like the flexibility in it, and I very much did enjoy the gameplay experience, front to back. Those were some little frustrations that I had. So overall, really good story. I did like the gameplay quite a bit. From a music lens, this is your Final Fantasy fare, right? Like, it's exactly what you're looking for in a Final Fantasy game. So no complaints on the sound. I really did love the voice acting, especially for characters like Zack. Zack feels straight out of the 2000s, and he can be such a goober at times. So whoever was doing the English voice acting for a lot of these characters, I felt like they're really having a lot of fun. And it honestly doesn't fit the world at all, but it really fits my enjoyment of the game. So I enjoyed those aspects of it. And graphically, I looked at some comparisons between the PSP version and then this new remastered version, and I did find that it looked really great. I mean, it's not looking like Final Fantasy VII Remake by any degree, but the character models look great. The environments look great as well. And I think I played this back to back from Remake and Intermission, and I did find that Crisis Core Reunion did hold up and really did feel canon in a visual sense. You know, not just in the world that it's in, but in the way it looked. And so I was impressed by that. And I really appreciated that they took the time to do that for this game. So overall, I would say that I really enjoyed Crisis Core Reunion. It is a game that I would consider maybe picking up again someday in the future, because as I mentioned, there were some items that I missed along the way that I wanted to kind of collect, or trophies and so on, that I think would be fun to pick up. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun gameplay experience. The gameplay was fast and quick and to the point, and if I could just hop on for 15 minutes, I could absolutely crush out a couple missions in this game that'll keep me progressing along and enjoying it. And so from that lens, I'd say it's definitely worth picking up if you like Final Fantasy VII and you enjoyed the remake and you want a little more out of this content before you move on to Rebirth, or even after Rebirth. I think you'll still enjoy it and learn a lot about Zack and the world and so on and so forth. But yeah, those are my thoughts. All in all, would love to know what you thought about Crisis Core Reunion if you played it, or if you're thinking about picking it up. And otherwise, if you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe for more. Would love to have you around to chat games in the future. Well, until next time, take care and look forward to seeing you again.